And welcome to Boomer Live. Of course, we are here late at night celebrating India's big victory against West Indies in the T20i series. And also, we're going to be celebrating women in blue in cricket. They made it to the Commonwealth Games final. It's the first time ever there's women's cricket in Commonwealth Games, and they made it to the final. They're going to be playing for the gold medal, and that's going to be an interesting thing to talk about as well. I have Sandipani to join me. Sandipani, what do you think? Because initial reactions, because it's been a huge series victory. India has been on an unbeaten streak in T20i series is because under Rohit Sharma's tenure, once he has taken over as a full-time captain, we've not lost a T20i series yet, and we've beaten a good West Indies side in their own backyard. This time around it was in the USA, but yeah, nonetheless, it was a good team and it was a tough game because it was not an easy pitch to bat on. We posted 191, and yet again the bowlers stepping up and making sure they close the game out pretty well.
Yeah, I think all in all, it was a very good performance. We had a few hiccups with the bat in the second game, but other than that, I think we have been pretty dominant throughout this series. And once again, I think a very good opening, a very dynamic opening combination. Rohit Sharma and Surya Kumar Yadav got India off to a flyer once again, and we have been going about in the debate between Rishabh Pant and Dinesh Karthik, but slowly and steadily, if you see that in this series and against West Indies, Rishabh Pant has had a pretty decent series. I mean, he scored an unbeaten 33 in the third game to see his team home, and even today he scored that 40 odd runs, which helped India to post that mammoth total of 191, 19. And once they scored it was quite evident that West Indies were going to fall way below, because I think the only two batters that has really impressed me from the West Indies camp has been Mayers and definitely Nicholas Puran. Nicholas Puran has been having a purple patch, uh, not just from the IPL, even before the IPL, he has
Yeah,
had a very good 2022 with the bat
yeah,
for West Indies as the captain in T20i's as well. And Mayers, we all know how dangerous he can be. He's sort of a hit and miss sort of a player. He'll give you those runs, X factor players who will give you those runs in very quick pace if he gets going. But his consistency has to improve. But if you just talk about the
absolutely.
India's performance, I think another brilliant display from Arshdeep Singh. We have
Yeah,
seen that
definitely.
what he has done in the 4 5 matches that he got in his international career, and very well, like, everybody in the world now knows why we are so high on Arshdeep Singh. And I think
Absolutely.
a bit of redemption from Avesh Khan after that second game.
But
He had
I'm
two.
totally happy for Avesh Khan as well because Avesh Khan,
Yeah,
he got a lot of hammering, because as a young baller, you will go through these phases. We've seen some of the greatest ballers in the world. They go through these tough phases where they will be hammered in a period of time, and to come back out of it, you need backing of the team. And I'm so happy that Indian team has been backing these players who are now performing, and that's a hallmark of this new management as well. They've been backing the players to the tilt, and they've been able to perform. As even today, I'll give you an example of Arshdeep Singh, right? He went for 9 or 10 runs in the first over, then to come back, he picked up 3 wickets in his last 2 overs. That's just brilliant. It's just the trust what you show in these players that they're able to deliver. And that's one thing in sports, right? You need to back the players, you can't put them down. See, a graph of every player is going to go up and down. That's the thing with sports. There has been no sports person, or there's been no person in life, right, where a person's graph is always straight up and it always goes up. There'll be times when you're going to go down, when you're going to come down crashing, and that's where I believe someone like Harshdeep Singh, someone like Avesh Khan, these lads need to be backed. And once you back them, and you will get the rewards out of it through a course of time as well. And I'm so happy that they did back. We got a question
yeah,
from
definitely.
Shruti Sriram. Shruti Sriram asked thoughts on Rishabh Pant. Of course, Rishabh Pant has been a revelation in all the formats so far, but especially T20I format is one format where he had to actually crack it. Today's knock was certainly going to give me a lot of confidence. 44 runs when the team lost quick 2 wickets, to come out there and to bat the way he did. I thought it was a good knock. It was a very good knock given the circumstances and the way in which he showed a lot of maturity in that knock as well. And he's grown as a cricketer, isn't it, over the last year or so?
Yeah, definitely. And to add to that fact that today there was no Hardik Pandya. So the batting, if you consider, there was Deepak Huda, Dinesh Karthik, and Akshay Patel to follow. So Rishabh Pant had that extra. So there was Sanju Samson definitely, but
Yeah.
yeah. So there was not much experience when it comes to the international format. Once if another wicket fell at that juncture, but we saw how well Rishabh Pant. We always talk about these X factor players who sort of give India this. boost whenever they need them. Players like Hardik Pandya, Rishabh Pant, and to see them grow as a cricketer. I mean, the maturity that they have shown in the uh, last year or so. I mean, it
Yeah,
just goes to show their mental character. I mean, they are so strong that they receive so much criticism, flack, and then they come and give this sort of performance. It's very encouraging, and I think it was all in all a very good team performance, because none of the single players got a very big score, and none of the bowlers like predominantly took most of the wickets. It was a team
yeah,
effort. Everybody contributed, chipped in, played their parts. So I
absolutely.
think all in all, very happy.
We've got another question. I mean, of course, as we speak about Virat Kohli, another player who's been highly regarded and highly talked about is Sanju Samson across social media and everywhere as well. Every time he doesn't make it to the team, people come out asking where is Sanju Samson, when is he going to make it to the playing 11? And he got an opportunity. He batted at numbers 5, and that's a question as well. Do you reckon when he was replacing someone like a Shreyas Iyer, he should have been given the number 3 spot? And wherever he has played cricket, and especially his franchise cricket in the recent past as well, he either opens the batting, he bats at number 3, maximum number 4, but number 5, you reckon it's been a little too low for him, isn't it?
Yeah, one might say number five is a bit low for him, but again, India is sort of experimenting with different batting positions for these supposedly reserved players who are going to consist of the bench strength in the Asia Cup, and might as well be the bench strength for India in the World Cup. So they are just testing different players in different positions. So I think Sanju Samson was put into bat at number 5 to see how he responds to that challenge. And I think he did
Yeah,
a beautiful job, and he has been doing a very decent job for India in the last 2 3 months, in the last tour to England, Ireland. In the latest tour, he has been really good for India. In international format, previously Sanju Samson, whenever he used to get these international call-ups, he was not uh, giving those results that was demanded of him, but required of him. But certainly now he has looked a different player. Similar sort of approach. These are all new generation players. They are very aggressive. They are fearless. We have always been talking about how fearless this new Indian team is looking to
yeah,
be. But I think that is the way to go about it. And I think you should not change a single thing about it. And I think that is where Rahul Dravid steps in. We saw how he can sort of nurture these young talents when he was given the responsibility of the under 19 squads, and he has done a fabulous job. I am still not very happy with so many changes in the captaincy, but
yeah,
that is a different issue altogether. But all in all, I
yeah,
think the team is shaping up well. And I mean, to beat West
absolutely.
Indies in an away series is always difficult, especially given the fact that West Indies have some of the biggest power hitters. Even though some of the big names like Kyron Pollard, Sunil Narayan, they all don't play for the international side anymore. But still, the young guns, Rovman Powell, Nicholas Puran, they are one of the most clean hitters of the cricket ball that I have seen. So I think all in all, beating them in an away series is a brilliant achievement for a young team. So I think it's all positives for Team India, and I think even West Indies, they put up a good fight in the end to come in and get one game away from India. I think this was uh, a defeat for Team India after 5 or 6 years. Uh, Not 5 or 6, sorry, 2 or 3 years in T20 internationals. So
Yeah,
I think it was a huge achievement for them to get that second game back. But
yeah,
credits to Team India. Definitely the superior team. Definitely got the better of West Indies tonight.
truly, truly. I mean, you have to give credit there where this team has actually performed beyond one's expectations as well. One would say so because if you look at the last couple of seasons, it's not been going so well for Team Indian T20 cricket, but then they've come off age pretty well, is what one would term them to have, especially after the World Cup. They had to redeem themselves in T20 cricket, and Rohit Sharma's captaincy has been a refreshing move. Talking about that, interesting question by Teju as well. A point which he has made, actually, not a question. Arshdeep has actually sealed a spot for for the Asia Cup. You reckon he's going to make it to the starting 11 for the Asia Cup, considering Harshal Patel is ruled out and he's going to be a third seamer, or is it going to be
I
Avesh
think he
Khan?
should
Because
definitely get a chance. But having known that, I mean, some of the pitches that Asia Cup will be played on will assist a lot of spinners. So we might as well see India going with two specialist spinners. But that's like
But
way
then
far
when you
shot.
have a Jadeja or Akshar Patel at number 7, and you have a Yuzvendra Chahal, Would you actually play three spinners and three pacers, which includes
The
Hardik
new
Pandya?
India team won't do that, but if we consider India from 2 3 years back, I think they would have gone for three spinners, given they had the right pitch. But
Yeah,
yeah, rightly pointed out, I think three seamers is the way to go about it, and Arshdeep Singh is definitely in the front running of things right now, and definitely ahead of Avesh Khan in the pecking order. I have to say, because we were mentioning, we had been very vocal about Arshdeep Singh being ahead of players like Umran Malik and Avesh Khan in the picking order, and he has made a case for him, and I think he might just make the cut in the playing 11 in the Asia Cup. But it will be very interesting to see how India. I mean, a very good point pointed out by Teju that it's a long tail with Harshal ruled out. If Harshal Patel does not play, Bhuvneshwar Kumar, one might say, can bat, but not a number 8 batsman for me. And then
yeah.
Bumrah, Yuzvendra Chahal, Arshdeep Singh, they are not like good batters, and I just think for that reason, I think if Ashwin can be very consistent, I think he might as well get a game in place of Yuzvendra Chahal just to strengthen the batting order as a change. I mean, Yuzvendra Chahal with the current form that he is in, I think he is definitely your top pick for the spin department. But I think if India feel that they don't have that depth in the batting order, they might as well look for players like Ashwin in the mix.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, it's going to be interesting selection conundrum for Team India. Will Sanju Chetan play Isha Kawari? Anybody Malayalis? Uh, yeah, I mean, I'm a Malayali, but then yeah, will Sanju Samson play Asia Cup? Tough question, isn't it? Will
Yeah, it's a
Sanju Samson
very
play Asia Cup? Is he
very
going?
tricky pick because we have Deepak Huda, Shreyas Iyer knocking the doors on the team, and clearly Sanju Samson getting the game ahead of Shreyas Iyer certainly tells you that India are going to experiment. I have told it way too many times now, because just ahead of the T20 World Cup, I mean, they are going to mix and match, and they are going to try and find the right combination, the best 11 before the T20 World Cup commences. I think that is
Yeah.
where India fell short last year. They took 1 or 2 games to settle down, and suddenly they were knocked out of the like championship. So it was not a good thing. I mean, so they have started early. The preparations are so far going well, and I think it is a choice of plenty for Rahul Dravid and the management team right now.
ക്രിക്കറ്റ് ഫ്ലിക്സ് കേരള ശരിക്കും പറഞ്ഞാൽ ഞാൻ പറയുകയാണെങ്കിൽ സഞ്ജു സാംസൺ കളിക്കോ ഇല്ലയോ എന്ന് എനിക്കറിയില്ല ഈ ഒരു നിമിഷത്തിൽ. പക്ഷേ സഞ്ജു സാംസൺ കളിക്കുമെന്നാണ് വിശ്വസിക്കുന്നത്. സഞ്ജു സാംസന് ആകെ ഒരു സ്പോട്ടേ ഉള്ളൂ ടീം ഇന്ത്യയിൽ. ഇപ്പോൾ അത് നമ്പർ 3 സ്പോട്ട് തന്നെയാണ്. ഇപ്പം ഞാൻ നിങ്ങൾ മലയാളത്തിൽ സംസാരിക്കാൻ പറഞ്ഞുകൊണ്ടാണ് ഞാൻ മലയാളത്തിൽ സംസാരിക്കുന്നത്. അതുകൊണ്ട് സഞ്ജു സാംസൺ ഇന്ത്യൻ ടീമിന് വേണം. എനിക്കറിയില്ല ഇപ്പൊ കളിക്കോ പിന്നെ കളിക്കോ. പക്ഷെ വൺ ഡേ വേൾഡ് കപ്പിൽ ഏതായാലും സഞ്ജു സാംസൺ കളിക്കാനുള്ള ചാൻസ് ഉണ്ട്. ഇപ്പൊ വൺ ഡേ സീരീസിൽ തന്നെ സഞ്ജു സാംസൺ നമ്പർ 5 കളിക്കുന്നത്. അതുകൊണ്ട് ചിലപ്പോൾ സഞ്ജു സാംസൺ വൺ ഡേ വേൾഡ് കപ്പ് കളിച്ചെന്നിരിക്കും. ഏഷ്യ കപ്പിലോ T20 വേൾഡ് കപ്പിലോ കളിക്കാനുള്ള സാധ്യത വളരെ കുറവാണ് ഇപ്പൊ സഞ്ജു സാംസണ്. I hope I answered your question, Kerala Cricket Freaks.
I
Nice
think that
talking
was a
Malayalam
very
there.
impressive job. Somebody who
Yeah,
joined us in between would have no clue about what was going on, but
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, but definitely, I like talking in Malayalam, and that was a good question as well about Sanju Samson,
Definitely,
because
definitely a
we
very good.
always get, even in Florida, even Caribbean, Sanju Samson is getting the Malayali fans going across, and we had our
Yeah, I
man
think
cricket,
it's a different sort
Crazy
of a wave
Jones
that
in the West
Sanju
Indies as
Samson has
well.
created. Yeah, right, right.
Absolutely,
I definitely feel a different kind of wave that he has created. I think it's going to definitely cause a couple of stirs in the room, like in the selection committee team, like whom to go with.
absolutely. I mean, it's going to be very interesting, right? If Sanju Samson makes it to that Asia Cup squad or the World Cup squad. But I have a feeling if KL Rahul is not fit, if KL Rahul doesn't seem all good to go, I don't mind Sanju Samson being even tried out as an opener. I know now they're trying Surya Kumar Yadav, but Sanju Samson in the opening spot could be a very interesting move. Looking at the future as well, he's a capable player to take on the fast bowler. He loves the pace. He loves the ball coming onto the bat. Uh, he's going to be one player to watch out for as well, even in the future. But now let's move away from Sanju Samson. Let's talk about Surya Kumar Yadav slightly. We have spoken about him yesterday, even in the team selection. How important a player he has been in the series. This series has been a revelation for him. You put him in a different position altogether in international cricket. Though he has batted there, opening the batting even for Mumbai Indians at times. But in international cricket, against a good quality bowling attack, it's a totally different game altogether, isn't it? So, how do you see Surya Kumar Yadav's progress?
I think so far it's been very good for Surya Kumar Yadav opening the innings. I mean, whatever role you give him, Surya Kumar Yadav just steps up and takes the responsibility and goes about things in his usual manner. I think again tonight a very important start, a very good start from Rohit Sharma and Surya Kumar Yadav early on that set the momentum. Even though they were both dismissed in a short span of time, but the start that they gave, I think that was one of the reasons why India could sort of bolstered their score up to 190. And I think Surya Kumar Yadav will definitely be tested in the World Cup. I don't know how much he'll be tested in the Asia Cup because I mean pitches are sort of similar to what he has been getting. But in Australia, with that sort of bounce, if you're going there for the first time, you are definitely going to face some challenges. It is going to be very interesting to see what role does he get when he goes for the World Cup. Does he come into bat at number 4, or does he still open if God forbid one of Rahul or Rohit Sharma is unfit? So it's going to be very interesting to see what position he gets and how he responds to the challenge. I mean, there are players who just love playing in Australia right from the first game. And I definitely feel KL Rahul is one of them. KL Rahul had his first test century in Australia way back in 2014 in that new aggressive Indian era. So I feel there are players who would definitely cherish, and Surya Kumar Yadav is going to be one of them. So it's
Absolutely. I
it's
mean,
going to be very
it's his
interesting.
first tour to Australia as well. So I'm
Yeah,
quite keen to see how he comes out, because one thing which I always have noticed about someone like Surya Kumar Yadav is he's ready for the challenge, right? He plays with a very free mindset. He plays a baggage free cricket. He's got nothing to lose. Yesterday I mentioned in the live that players like this who've got nothing to lose because they're in that stage of their careers where they know that they've worked hard for this. It's not like they've been playing for 10 years or something. Surya Kumar Yadav would have never thought he would have played for India 3 years ago, or maybe even a couple of years ago. But as he's gotten this opportunity, he doesn't want to lose it. He wants to play the cricket like he has been playing it all his life. It's got nothing to change. It's international cricket or anything else. And he's been playing the cricket what has made him this kind of player he is. So that's what differentiates Surya Kumar Yadav from other players. And whatever the team has asked of him, bat number 6, bat number 5, now bat number 4, bat number 3, bat opening, he's done it all for Team India the last 1.5 years. I think he made his debut in the March of 2021. It is August 2022, and he's your world number 2 batter in the world in T20
and he
cricket.
just
So
has around
that
20
speaks
games under
volumes.
his belt in T20 internationals. I mean, that is very less when you ask, like when you compare it to some different players. And he's now among the top 20 batsmen if you consider all-time ICC T20I rating for batsmen. I mean, that's a huge achievement to reach
Yeah,
that place, but it is going to be very hard to maintain it. We have seen players like David Malan. When they started off, they had an incredible rating, or they used to perform really well, but uh, sooner or later, I mean, things are going to get challenging, more challenging, and your character will really show at that point. And if you can sort of overcome and perform at that instinct, I mean, that will be great. So there are a lot of tests that Surya Kumar Yadav still has to pass to sort of establish himself as the best T20I batsman for Team India. But definitely right now he has been looking the best out of the lot.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, one thing which I also like about Surya Kumar Yadav is the attitude, right? He's a
Yeah,
total team man. He's always ready to back each other all the time, and he's got his job pretty much cut out. And that's one of the reasons why I also feel that he can be a future part of the leadership group as well. I don't see any reason why he can't be part of the leadership group in the coming years. Maybe in the next T20 World Cup, you never know. It could be the vice captaincy candidate as well. Maybe even the captain. You never know about that.
and the way India are
Sandeep,
changing
now,
their captains and vice captains, I mean, there are only a few players left who has not got the opportunity yet, and Surya Kumar Yadav is definitely in the front running of that thing.
I mean, yeah, of course, because I
Yeah,
expected today's game Shreyas had to captain it if Rohit Sharma was injured, but then it's good to see that Rohit Sharma was captaining even after that
yeah,
slight bit of hit which he got. Not the hit, he got muscle spasm is what we heard, back
yeah.
spasm in the back, and he was able to recover on time. So it's always important to stick with one captain. That's been the case with India in the last few months at least. We've got another question. आपको लगता है कि दीपक हुडा विराट से बेहतर खिलाड़ी है? हिंदी में जवाब। जी। दीपक हुडा और विराट को कंपेयर करना ही गलत बात है, क्योंकि दीपक हुडा ने अभी-अभी उनका करियर शुरू किया है। दीपक हुडा ने कितना मैचेस खेले होंगे? मतलब 10 मैचेस से कम खेले होंगे। विराट ने तो पिछले 10 साल से डोमिनेट कर रहा है। प्लेयर ऑफ द डिकेड भी बना है विराट कोहली ने। और विराट कोहली ने हर फॉर्मेट में 50 के ऊपर औसत रखा हुआ है, और ऐसे ऐसे खिलाड़ी को दीपक हुडा के साथ कंपेयर करना ही गलत बात है। दीपक हुडा का फॉर्म बहुत अच्छा चल रहा है, ये तो अलग ही बात है, और विराट कोहली का फॉर्म अच्छा नहीं चल रहा है। तो इसी कारण दीपक हुडा को लोग ऐसा प्रेफर कर रहे हैं कि दीपक हुडा नंबर 3 खेलना चाहिए, क्योंकि दीपक हुडा का इंटेंट भी काफ़ी सही है। और टी20 क्रिकेट एक ऐसा स्टेज में है कि लोग इंटेंट को प्रेफर कर रहे हैं टेक्निक से ऊपर। और दीपक हुडा एक अलग खिलाड़ी भी है, क्योंकि आज भी दीपक हुडा आप देखिएगा तो दीपक हुडा नंबर 4 में बैट किए थे। नंबर 4 के खिलाड़ी है ही नहीं वो। नंबर 4 में बैट किए थे, और नंबर 3 बैट करते हैं कभी-कभी, और उसको दीपक हुडा के साथ क्या मिलता है कि दीपक हुडा का गेंद भी डाल सकता है। तो एक एडवांटेज ही रहता है इंडिया के लिए। तो विराट कोहली और दीपक हुडा का कंपेयर करना ये गलत बात है। मैं दीपक हुडा को कंपेयर करेगा तो मैं दीपक हुडा को कंपेयर करेगा अक्षर पटेल के साथ, जडेजा के साथ, क्योंकि ये सब ऑलराउंडर्स का कैटेगरी में आता है। और जब भी अभी जडेजा को इंजरी हुआ या तो अक्षर पटेल को इंजरी हुआ, तो दीपक हुडा को खिला सकते हैं हम, 7 नंबर में भी खिला सकते हैं, या तो चौथे नंबर भी खिला सकते हैं, कभी कहीं पर भी
और
खिला
इंडिया ने
सकते हैं।
ट्राई भी किया था पिछले अभी 1-2 गेम पहले दीपक हुडा नंबर 7 पे ही आ रहा था। तो ऐसे ही अभी ऐसे तो कंपैरिजन बन ही नहीं सकता ना। एक ने 90 मतलब अंतरराष्ट्रीय गेम्स खेले हैं और दीपक हुडा का 4 या 5 है। ऊपर से मतलब ये तो इंटेंट की बात है। मतलब दीपक हुडा इंटेंट दिखा रहा है, अच्छे फॉर्म में है। वी ऑल से क्लास इज परमानेंट, लाइक फॉर्म इज रियली टेम्पररी। सो अभी देखना पड़ेगा दीपक हुडा को। अभी दीपक हुडा पे उतना चैलेंजेस नहीं आया है। आयरलैंड के साथ अच्छा स्कोर किया है, इंग्लैंड के साथ अच्छा स्कोर किया है, तो अभी वेस्ट इंडीज के साथ भी ठीक ठाक चल रहा है। तो अभी जब ऑस्ट्रेलिया के
बिल्कुल।
साथ पाकिस्तान के साथ खेलेगा तब पता चलेगा कि मतलब कितना कोर स्ट्रेंथ है इनमें।
आई मीन ये बात तो सच ही है। मतलब अभी एशिया कप में भी सेलेक्ट होगा तो मेरे को लगता नहीं है दीपक हुडा स्टार्टिंग 11 में खेलेगा, पर बैकअप ऑप्शन के लिए बहुत अच्छा रहेगा, क्योंकि आपको पता ही है मतलब एक बड़ा टूर्नामेंट एशिया कप या तो वर्ल्ड कप जैसा टूर्नामेंट में इंजरी कहीं कभी भी आ सकते हैं किसी भी प्लेयर को। तो दीपक हुडा जैसा बैकअप होना बहुत ज़रूरी है। और एक अच्छे टीम का हॉलमार्क, या तो अच्छे टीम का हॉलमार्क यही होता है कि आपको बैकअप होना चाहिए। मेन आपको आप देखिएगा तो विराट कोहली को इंजरी हुआ तो क्या करेगा? दीपक हुडा को खिला सकते हैं, या तो आप सूर्य कुमार यादव को खिला सकते हैं, या आप वहाँ पर अभी दिनेश कार्तिक भी, अभी तो सबसे बड़ा डिबेट तो यही है कि दिनेश कार्तिक खेलेगा या तो ऋषभ पंत खेलेगा। तो इस ये सब ध्यान में रख के तो पता नहीं होगा कि कौन खेलने वाला है वो पहला मैच एशिया कप में पाकिस्तान के साथ। मेरे मेरे को लगता नहीं है कि दीपक हुडा खेलेगा, और दीपक हुडा विराट से भी बेहतर खिलाड़ी नहीं है इस वक़्त पर। अब खिलाड़ी को कंपेयर करना बहुत गलत बात होगा, पर फॉर्म में तो अभी दीपक हुडा थोड़ा आगे है, क्योंकि विराट कोहली से ज़्यादा रन मारा है आईपीएल में भी, और अभी इंडिया के लिए भी, और एक शतक भी मारा है टी20 क्रिकेट में। तो इसी कारण अभी फॉर्म में तो दीपक हुडा का अच्छा चल रहा है, बट खिलाड़ी को कंपेयर करना बहुत गलत बात रहेगा।
नहीं, अभी और ऐसा भी बात है कि अभी इंडिया के पास बहुत सारे मिडिल ऑर्डर बैट्समैन हैं। इसी के
जी,
कारण अभी इंडिया क्या कर रहे हैं, एक-एक करके मिडिल ऑर्डर बैट्समैन जैसे ऋषभ पंत को पुश कर रहा है, ओपन करो, कि ये लोग अभी एक बैकअप ओपनर नहीं खिलाना चाहते। ये लोग चाहते हैं कि ओपनर 2 ही रहेगा, अगर कोई इंजर्ड हो जाए तो हम लोगों के पास इतने सारे मिडिल ऑर्डर्स हैं कि हम लोग एक को ऊपर बुला लेंगे और फिर वो ओपन कर लेंगे हम लोगों के लिए, तो एक और मिडिल ऑर्डर बैट्समैन फिट हो जाएगा बीच में। तो अभी इंडिया के
जी।
पास चॉइसेस ऑफ प्लेंटी मिडिल ऑर्डर में है। तो दीपक हुडा जैसे प्लेयर्स, संजू सैमसन जैसे प्लेयर्स, दिनेश कार्तिक जैसे प्लेयर्स हम लोगों को पता भी नहीं है। एबेल ने बहुत सही बोला कि पता नहीं है कि दिनेश कार्तिक खेलेगा कि ऋषभ पंत खेलेगा। पर कोई भी खेले, अगर दोनों ओपनर्स खेल रहा है तो इन सबको एक टीम में फिट करना बहुत मुश्किल होगा।
जी, बिल्कुल। Yeah, Devan, I mean, we try to make sure all our viewers are felt comfortable. We are really talking the language we know. I think even we can speak in Bengali also. I'm
Yeah,
not me,
definitely.
but Sandeepani can definitely answer in Bengali also. So we try to make sure we cover almost every language what we know. It was good talking in Malayalam today. It was good talking Hindi, and of course we'll get back to English because that's the basic language what we want to use. But yeah, coming back to the very point, as we were what is going to be the next, who are going to be India's main forte players, and this series of course has given a lot of players, has given India options. Now, one player we want to talk about is Ravichandran Ashwin, right? Ravichandran Ashwin has been a good player since he's been an important part of Team India in Test cricket, of course, but in white ball format, he's been there, he's not been there, he's tried too much. And I call him a mystery spinner because he wants to be a mystery spinner in the white ball format. And in the IPL, he was super successful bowling alongside Yuzvendra Chahal. And I thought the tandem of Yuzvendra Chahal and Ravichandran Ashwin really helped Rajasthan Royals to move forward. One of the major reasons why Rajasthan Royals played that final was that middle overs of seven or 8 overs of Yuzvendra Chahal and Ravichandran Ashwin really made sure other teams were put
And
under pressure. They
just to
choked
cut
other
you out
teams.
there, I think when you talk about Ashwin, a very important feature for Ashwin is I think his bowling average in T20 internationals is very close to Yuzvendra Chahal, which
Yeah,
just goes to show that what impact he has made for Team India, just
yeah.
playing for Team India. And since his return, I
As
think
you were
he
talking
averages
about
only
bowling
16 with
averages
the
as
ball.
well, let's not confuse Ashwin, the 50-over bowler, with Ashwin, the 20-over bowler. I still think in 20 overs cricket is an asset for many of the teams because he's a utility player, right?
Definitely.
Even in fantasy picks, we do have him in our team in the fantasy picks because of the very reason that he could come in and chip you with that 20 runs, 15 runs with the bat. He can come in and pick up 2 wickets, 2 crucial wickets, and get you a lot of fantasy points. And that's where you feel a player like Ashwin is going to be so important for India in the T20 setup more than the one day setup. In one day setup, you might have different arguments because his adaptability to the one day format hasn't been so good in the last 5 years at least. He's got an opportunity in the one day format. He did not succeed even in the South Africa series, which India played earlier this year. But in T20 format, he's been able to adapt himself, bring different
I
variations,
think
and that's
over the
all what he
years
did to
we have
survive the
seen with
format itself.
Indian bowlers, yeah, I think with Indian spinners we have seen this trend over the years when they sort of start reaching their mid 30s or early 30s. Bowlers like Harbhajan Singh, Anil Kumble, they not Anil Kumble, we won't compare Anil Kumble, different generation, but Harbhajan Singh, bowlers like Ashwin, they start to like their wicket taking ability starts to get like reduced, and they are more
Yeah,
of an economical bowler. You might get to see Ashwin bowling 10 overs for 40-45 runs, but that is not what Team India, the new Team India won. What Team India wants, they want wickets in the middle orders. That is why the Kulcha combination was so successful for Team India in ODIs, because there was Kuldeep Yadav and Yuzvendra Chahal. Even though if they would go for 160, 170 in 20 overs, they would pick up 4-5 wickets in that middle phase, which would break the backbone of the batting side. So I think
yeah,
it's got to do with the approach that Ashwin is no longer a proper fit for the ODI side, but it's a completely different thing when you talk about the T20I side, because it all depends on pressure. We have seen what impact, rightly mentioned by Abel, what impact Ashwin and Chahal made like created for Rajasthan Royals, bolstered their campaign to the finals, and they had a brilliant run together. It I mean Yuzvendra Chahal got so many wickets because Ashwin was creating the pressure from the other end, and
yeah.
Ashwin, whatever wickets he got, I mean, it all has to got to do with partnerships, and I think Ashwin and Chahal really gel well together. Chahal with any bowler really gels well together when he's in this sort of a form where he's picking up
Yeah.
wickets.
I mean, we have an interesting question here. Will Kuldeep play and Kuldeep had a better IPL than Ashwin? There's no doubt about it, right?
Yeah,
Stats and everything says that Kuldeep had a better IPL than Ravichandran Ashwin. But it's an interesting thing, Sandeep, because I really thought Kuldeep will get the nod ahead of Ravi Bishnoi, especially for this T20I series, but he still did not. Indian team still preferred Ravi Bishnoi over Kuldeep Yadav.
and I was
That's why I feel
confused by
Kuldeep
the
Yadav will be
fact
very
because
low in
Ravi
the picking
Bishnoi and
order.
Yuzvendra Chahal are both leg spinners. I mean, if you are playing one leg spinner, then the other bowler should be all left arm
I
Chinaman.
mean, the possible way, where India should have gone is if India wants to have a bowler who takes the ball away from the left-hander, it was going to be Kuldeep Yadav because India had two leg spinners who are going to bring the ball into the left-hander. But only bowler who could have possibly taken the ball away from the left-hander, one is Ravichandran Ashwin, another is Kuldeep Yadav,
Kuldeep
and,
Yadav.
and Kuldeep Yadav can take the ball both away and also into the left-hander. So that's another trait which Kuldeep Yadav brings, and is a genuine wicket taker. You saw that in the IPL. He's a bowler who's high on confidence. Though he got injured right before the South African series, that was a
Yeah.
huge hit on him.
I
Uh,
think two factors why Kuldeep Yadav, I mean Ravi Bishnoi was selected ahead of Kuldeep Yadav. One has to got to do with the age, because Bishnoi really has the age on his side, and the second thing has to be his issues with concerns with injury. I mean Kuldeep Yadav over the last 2-3 years has been injured for like quite often. Even when he was a part of that KKR unit, he was
yeah,
released because he could not play all the games. He was injured in that 2020-2021 season,
yeah.
so they released him, and Delhi Capitals rightly bet on him, and they got the results. But I definitely feel that these were the two main reasons why Ravi Bishnoi was selected ahead of Kuldeep.
I mean, yeah, of course. That's one of the major reasons as well because I can't find any other reason why Kuldeep is being Kuldeep is not being selected in the Indian team because of the very fact that he's a genuine wicket taker, and you need wicket takers to win games. Let it be T20 cricket. You need defensive bowlers at times, but then someone of Kuldeep's caliber, someone of Kuldeep's quality alongside Yuzvendra Chahal is definitely going to create havoc in many of the batting orders. I feel Kuldeep and Chahal are more effective than Ashwin and Chahal for sure, because Kuldeep, what he brings to the table is totally different trade. He can ball in the middle overs. You can also give him death overs. Like you've seen that with Delhi Capitals last season, where he was also entrusted upon the ball the latter half of the innings in T20 cricket, and he delivered it pretty well because his loop beats the batters in the air, and he's a very aggressive bowler. He likes to toss it up now and time again, same like Yuzvendra Chahal. That's why batters fall for that prey, and then what happens is then Kuldeep and Chahal creates havoc. That's what usually happens as well.
Yeah.
Little surprise, you reckon can Kuldeep get last game or the 50-20? Can Kuldeep get a nod ahead? Because it'll be good to see him right before an Asia Cup, and you never know. I'm not sure that he'll be selected for the Asia Cup or even for the World Cup, but then at least
No, I
keeping him in the
definitely
scheme
think
of
that
things
he's
should be
not in
too
the running
important.
for the Asia Cup. Yeah, I definitely don't think he's in the running for the Asia Cup. But we might have an outside chance of getting to see him play tomorrow, like
Yeah,
Teju rightly mentioned right now. Yeah.
yeah,
So,
and the game is tomorrow,
but
guys. Let's not forget that.
yeah, because
It's
India have
tonight.
been
It's today.
experimenting a
It's
lot with
today.
all the players.
I mean, it's
Yeah,
today itself. Let's not forget, it's already 1 a.m. in India, 11:30 in UAE. But then, yeah, of course, 1 a.m. in India means the game is going to be tomorrow itself, and today
yeah,
itself, and it's going to be a big one as well. So stay tuned for the fantasy picks coming your way, because you can make your team with that. Just once again reminding you. Uh, let's talk about, before we talk end talking about the series and the great positives from the series. Let's talk about one of the biggest positives from the series has also been the fact that India are looking to play a certain brand of cricket, right? India's brand of cricket has been very impressive, that they want to keep going from ball one, and it's been super effective. Uh, how do you see this sustaining for a longer period of time? Because we have had criticisms for the certain brand of cricket, and in the recent past, Team England, they are also falling short to even win games because this same brand of cricket as well. So
yeah.
you reckon is that going to sustain for a longer period of time, or do you still believe in adapting to situations where you're going to be more, you know you can be risk free,
Yeah.
but at the same time, you have to keep a check of what are the risks you're taking, and you don't be reckless with the approach, right?
Yeah. I mean, there are always pros and cons to a thing, and I think definitely with this approach, the pros are that you might end up scoring huge scores, and
Yeah,
put that pressure on the opposition. But there are cons that you might lose early wickets and then never get going. But this is when I feel players like Virat Kohli, Rohit Sharma, the experienced players from Team India are going to hold a key to India's success in Asia Cup or the World Cup, because
yeah.
it is players like KL Rahul, Virat Kohli, not so much player like you don't expect Deepak Huda to come in and adapt to a different situation
Yeah,
very
I
maturely
get
like
a
him.
point over there. I just, as I mentioned,
Yeah,
England's approach and how England has been so successful in T20 and one day cricket. There has always been this pillar. There has always been this one player who plays the anchor, and rest everybody plays alongside him. I always
yeah,
thought David Malan in the recent past for England has been playing the anchor's role, but the time where England has outperformed in T20 cricket, David Malan has tried to also play that similar brand of cricket which others have
yeah,
been playing. So that's what has put Team England in trouble. David Malan
yeah,
also tries to play that brand of cricket, and when he loses the wicket, there's no way to hold one end up. So usually, what used to happen is that if England are losing wickets, David Malan used to hold one end up. David Malan used to bat at a strike at 130, 125 to 130, but others used to play in that brand. Others used to bat around 150 to 160. And even if you lose wickets, you have David Malan in one hand, holding one end up. So before David Malan was Joe Root. And for Team India as well, that's why I feel Virat Kohli's importance becomes even more relevant. If at all India wants to play the brand of cricket, you need a Virat Kohli to
yeah.
hold one end up. You saw it in the second T20, though India just lost one match in this entire series. But you don't want such a match to be lost in an important stage in the World Cup. And that's one thing which we all fear of.
And that
And
too
that's one thing
against
which
teams
keeps
like
happening
West
time
Indies.
and
I
time
mean,
again.
clearly West Indies are not one of the when you consider this West Indies team, they are not definitely one of the clear favorites heading into the World Cup. But Team India is. So I mean, getting a defeat like the one in the second T20I would be a massive upset in if such a thing, God forbid, happens in the World Cup.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's what I believe, someone like someone of that caliber like Virat Kohli is going to be so important for this team, especially moving ahead. And but still think we lack a left-hander. That's concerned. Top six only as Pant as a left-hander. I think top six as Pant as a left-hander, and also if we include Jadeja as a floater or even Akshar Patel as a floater, even they are good enough, especially when it comes to batting in the middle order. Getting those the left-hand combination, and even if you want to use a tactical ploy, right? If you want to have Jadeja to be batting at number five, he is capable of batting at number five. We've seen that with Chennai Super Kings. We've seen that with Team India in the Sri Lankan series,
Yeah.
where Jadeja was batting at number five for India in a couple of occasions. And Dorsham also told that we'll use Jadeja as a floater. So let's not forget that. And Akshar Patel's batting is also a huge, huge bonus for Team India. If at all Jadeja is injured, and if Jadeja is left out, you have Akshar Patel now who's very confident with bat, and that's going to help India going into the World Cup as well, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think series like the West Indies is going to give Akshar Patel a lot of confidence. That is why I was so like insistent on Virat Kohli playing this series against West Indies or against Zimbabwe, because if you get runs or get wickets in series like in any international game, it gives you a lot of confidence heading into the next one. And I definitely think players like Virat Kohli could use a bit of a confidence. I mean, confidence has never been an issue for Virat Kohli, but
Yeah,
recently we have seen that he has like not had the right uh, what to say, luck. One might say luck, one might say the technique. There are
yeah,
some flaws in his technique as well. And definitely one, you need left-handers in your team, and floaters are going to be very important in World Cup, because if you have a team like New Zealand and a bowler like Ish Sodhi, who has a very good record against India, a leg spinner who
yeah,
is very good against all the right-handers, is on song, then you would need somebody like a Jadeja or an Akshar Patel to come in early and sort of break the rhythm by going after the bowling, and then like taking the ball on the spin. So I
yeah.
think it is going to be very interesting to see how teams go about it. With the current Indian team, I mean, all the players are very well established. So the thought of a pinch hitter doesn't really cross anyone's mind. But these are some of the small tactics that may win or lose you the game in critical situations.
Absolutely. I mean, these tactics are so important, right? Especially when it comes to using in T20 cricket. You have seen the recent past how teams have used a left-hander to counter a leg spinner or even a left-arm spinner, and that's so important to have a successful T20 team. And if you look at some of the successful T20 teams in the recent past, you always had a left-hander to come in and take the ballers on. Let it be a David Warner, let it be someone like David Malan. Even for New Zealand, they've had someone like a Henry Nichols at times. They've had this guy, what's his name, who opens for Chennai Super Kings. I'm just not forgetting. I'm just
Devon Conway. Yeah.
Devin Conway. Yeah, yeah. I'm sorry, guys. It's 1:30 in the morning, and I'm just forgetting names at this point. Nonetheless, Devin Conway has been a useful player for New Zealand. Also, they've used Jimmy Neesham. Jimmy Neesham's that knock in the semi-final of the World Cup, taking on Adil Rashid. How important was that to take on a leg
Very
spinner?
critical.
How important was a tactical knock? It was a tactical call to send him at that position, and he pulled it off. That's the reason why New Zealand played the World Cup final. And though they lost the World Cup final, there's a different thing altogether. But then let's talk about these moments where the game changes completely, and that's why you need to have a left-hander in your top five, top six, at least two, ideally two, but if not, at least one. And that's why Rishabh Pant is going to be such an important player in the World Cup, because in Australian grounds, Rishabh Pant has always done well. His record in Australia is very good. Let's not forget
Yeah.
that he will enjoy playing in those grounds because he's someone who likes to use the pace. And I think he's going to be an important factor for India in the World Cup. Let's not write him off. Even maybe Dinesh Karthik might not play, but then Rishabh Pant is going to
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
definitely one important factor.
Definitely. Definitely. I
Interesting question
see.
actually. Where should Sky ideally bat in the T20 team? I think it should be number five for me. Rishabh Pant number four, Sky number five, and Hardik Pandya number six, Jadeja number seven. What do you think about it? Yes, Sandibani. I think we've lost Sandibani for for some reason, but yeah, I think. Meanwhile, Sandibani joins back, I'll put myself on the stream. I'll be talking about where should Sky actually bat in the batting order. For me, I personally think it should be number five because of the very reason that what this guy brings into the table is totally different, right? Because someone like Surya Kumar Yadav, he's a very capable batter. He is very handy. He can bat anywhere. But number five is such an important position for Team India, especially if you look in the recent past. If you look in the recent past, what has happened is when India has lost wickets, someone like a Surya Kumar Yadav has come in and played those knocks. That 100 which he scored against England,
Yeah.
that was a clean example of how we need a number five batter. And T20 cricket as well. If you're 8 for 3, like a situation what we had against Pakistan in the World Cup, those Surya Kumar Yadav batted number four. But to have a batter at number five is so important. Number five is such a vital cog position in the T20I setup. We've seen that with some great teams as well. I keep mentioning some big teams because these teams have all had one thing in common. Let it be with Mumbai Indians, who has dominated cricket for dominated T20 cricket. They always had a great number five. It was Pollard or it was Pandya. These number five positions, number five in a T20 cricket is as important as a number three in a Test team because it's going to hold. Either number five is going to walk in either with 5 overs remaining, or number five is going to walk in the power play. So you'll have to have that game to keep going from ball one and also to steady the ship. So such an important position in T20 cricket, and that's why I feel Surya Kumar Yadav is an ideal candidate. What do you think, Sandeep?
I
I know
just
you have
think that
thoughts on
if
that.
India loses two early wickets, I think Surya Kumar Yadav can even come in at number four. But
Yeah.
other than that, if India has a decent start or a normal sort of a start like today, I think Rishabh Pant will do a very good job at number four, and then Sky can come in at number five.
I mean, makes sense because makes sense to me absolutely. Because one thing which one thing which I've always noticed with Surya Kumar Yadav is also that he always loves taking the responsibility as we
Yeah,
speak about him and as we keep appreciating about him time and time again, right?
yeah.
Responsibility and Surya Kumar Yadav and the maturity which is shown in the last few years has been just impeccable, and that's why you want someone like Surya Kumar Yadav to keep at it, keep going, and you never know. He's the sky is the limit, or maybe even more than sky is the limit for Surya
Yeah.
Kumar Yadav for sure. Talking about last point before we go to the women's game, of course. Um, Now Zimbabwe series, I know it's going to be a new team, but then are you particularly looking at a player to watch out for in the Zimbabwe series, looking ahead into the Asia Cup?
I think it will be a very interesting chance to get a look in at somebody like a Rahul Tripathi, who has sort of persevered really hard in IPL. We all know that he came into the setup with the rising Pune Super Giants in 2017. He had a very good run as an opener, and then suddenly he had two or three bad seasons. And then in last year, when for KKR, right before the Hyderabad, when he played for Hyderabad, for KKR reaching that final, I think he was an integral member of that team. That last ball six of Ravi Ashwin, I mean, everybody will sort of remember that shot
Yeah,
that took KKR
yeah,
to the finals. And I think he
yeah,
has worked really hard, and I think he deserved a chance in the team. And it will be very good to see him. Other than that, I think all these youngsters who are making a name, who are sort of trying to establish a sort of dominance and make a strong case for them for future considerations. I think it will be a very important series for players like Shreyas Iyer, Deepak Huda, players like them who can have a good impact on the outcome of the game, and even Sanju Samson. And on for bowlers, definitely Avesh Khan and Arshdeep Singh are two bowlers that I'll be looking at intently.
yeah. And we were, yeah, I mean, Asia Cup will be a good test. Of course, there's no doubt about Asia Cup is going to be India's biggest test, and we are going to be facing Pakistan in the World Cup as well. So there is no ideal preparation for India than Asia Cup. And let's consider Asia Cup to be a major tournament. Even yesterday, as we were picking the squad of 15. If you guys haven't already watched that video, go to the YouTube channel of ours, click on it, and watch that video as well. Where we picked the Boomer 11 squad of 15, and we've had some interesting calls. We've also spoken about the players who can possibly make, who have been left out, and the reason why they left out. We both have sat down and made a team, and I hope you like it, and do also comment what is your ideal 15 for the Asia Cup. So yeah, as Teju mentions, Asia Cup is the most ideal preparation. Deepak Chahar is one player as well who I'd like to see from Zimbabwe series because he's there in the squad. He's going to be coming after a long layoff of injury, and he was just coming into the prominence as an all-rounder, right? If you look back
Yeah.
in the earlier 2022, he was scoring runs with the bat, he was picking up wickets. So do you still consider him to be that extra bit of bowler who can possibly add India that width in the batting lineup? Because if he bats a number 8 in the T20 setup, the batting order only strengthens, and he's also got the ability to pick up wickets up front.
Yeah, but I told you about my problems with Deepak Chahar being in the team. I think Deepak Chahar and Bhuvneshwar Kumar are very similar sort of bowlers who will
Yeah,
give you 3 overs upfront in the power play. So
yeah,
I feel only one of the two can make a spot in the playing 11. And
yeah,
I think Deepak Chahar has to prove a lot in the Zimbabwe series. Rightly pointed out by Teju, Deepak Chahar should be definitely looked upon in the Zimbabwe series, because if he is not in the best of forms, I don't think that India should consider him in the next few sort of games, because it will be a bit unfair on players like Avesh Khan or Deep Singh, who have worked really hard to sort of stake a claim to that position, and Deepak Chahar has to prove himself. I mean, everybody in the team, in the setup, playing 11 or playing 15, or the team 15, has to prove themselves to make a case for their running. It can't be that you have had previous performances, you have won matches for India in the past. That does not automatically guarantee you a spot for in the T20I setup. I mean, Deepak
Absolutely.
Chahar has been very impressive with the ball early on. He's coming back from an injury. It is Zimbabwe who are not quite specifically strong with the bat. I mean, the only player from Zimbabwe that has been on top form has been Sikandar Raza. I think apart from him, none of the batsmen have looked threatening in the series against Bangladesh. I was seeing a couple of games. I mean, it was only Sikandar Raza who was doing the talking with the bat. So I
Let's not
mean,
forget, in the Zimbabwe team also have been very good. Especially they defeated a good Bangladesh team, and they also are
definitely.
high in confidence. They are going to the World Cup as well, so they would have some point to prove. And Sikandar Raza also was very vocal about him coming out and say that he wants to pull out some upsets in the World Cup and qualify into the group stage as well. So Zimbabwe team also has a point to prove, and it's going to be important for India to test some players, or at the same time don't be complacent, right?
Yeah, definitely. You would not like India losing any of the games, any of the three ODIs that they are going to play. It is going to be very embarrassing for them, given that they are one of the strongest teams in the world. But they can take it a bit lightly. They can try out different players, but they should never be complacent, because Zimbabwe are very high on confidence with that series win against Bangladesh. And definitely it is going to be a good contest, nonetheless.
Absolutely. I mean, there's no doubt about it. There's no
Yeah.
doubt about it because of the fact that what these both can possibly do, this team is going to possibly do in the coming months as well. Thank you, Michael, for that because yeah, it is nice to get these compliments and it really keeps us motivated. And also, thank you, Shaurya. 1:30 in the morning, and we are still going strong because Commonwealth Games. It's almost confirmed that Australia are making it to the final as they have now officially defeated the New Zealand
Team.
women's
Yeah.
team. So it'll be Australia versus India once again in a T20 final. Last time around they played in the T20 final. It was in 2020, right before COVID struck. It was a massive final in the Melbourne Cricket Ground on Women's Day, where Australia went on to win the T20 World Cup. Now there's a new opportunity, new beginning. India has almost made all the major finals in the last 5 years. So credits to Harmanpreet Kaur and the team for making it to the Commonwealth Games final. Now we have a chance. We are anyways confirmed of one medal, which is silver or
Yeah.
gold. It'll be very nice if India can get the goal by defeating Australia, who India lost by a whisker in the opening game. So India has an
I think
opportunity.
India really had Australia on the ropes in the first game. A brilliant spell from Renuka Thakur early on, picking up 4 wickets. And Renuka Thakur has been on a very good form. He She did not have a very good game tonight, but
Yeah,
other than that, in 4 games, she has picked up 8 wickets and is the leading wicket taker in the games, I feel. And the second highest wicket taker, and the most what to say, the most threatening player to look out for Team India will be Australia's Talia Magra. I mean, she has been a vital cog in India's campaign, even when India were looking to defeat Australia and break their 26-25 win ODI streak that they were having at one point. Magra used to come in and just take the game away from India. Beth Mooney and Magra. And I
yeah,
feel a problem for Australia have been their open the early slots. Meg Lanning, Elisa Healy has not been in the best of forms. And I think that has been putting a lot of pressure on the middle order, consisting of players like Beth Mooney and Magrat, and they have really stepped up. But it will be interesting to see if they can continue to do so against India, because we'll
absolutely. Because
have some very quality bowling from Team India right now. And I
right,
mean,
right,
tonight it was very interesting to see. Harmanpreet Kaur has always relied on spinners. Even before Harmanpreet, Mithali Raj used to always rely on her spinners to do the
yeah,
job in the business end of the game. And tonight
yeah,
we saw the perfect example with Sneha Rana bowling that brilliant 18th and 20th over, and Dipti Sharma bowling that outstanding 17th over. I mean, with
absolutely.
33 required of the last 4 overs, it was England's game to lose, and they did, because India bowled outstandingly in the death.
Absolutely. I mean, you have to give it to Indian team, and one thing which Indian team, not the one thing which Indian team really needs is the luck. Even in that World Cup, you saw right, the luck did not favor India. Again, even against South Africa, you saw that in that World Cup game, which reminds me that the no ball came at the wrong time, and India just
Yeah.
lost, and India just crashed out of the
I
World
think
Cup.
India have been very consistent and one of the like more one on the more dominating forces in the women's cricket in the past 1 year or so. But they have not ended up in the positive side of a lot of games because they tend to like bog down a bit under pressure. When in the last 1 or 2 overs they just let it go. They have control over the game for the majority of the part. But when they are under pressure, they there are times when they just let it go. It did not happen tonight. I was very happy to see that they did not choke under pressure, as to call it, because I was really expecting not expecting, I was hoping that India does not choke like they did in the World Cup final against England uh, 5 years back. So it was good to see that they maintained their composure and took the game home. And when we
Absolutely.
talk about Indian women's team, you definitely have to talk about their bats women, the women batsmen.
I mean,
They
batter, let's
yeah,
put the phrase right. It's no more batsmen, batswomen. It's batter. And we like to refer all the players as batter and bowler. So we'll talk about the women batter as Aisha has rightly mentioned. Talk about Smriti. Of course, how can we not talk about Indian team without talking about Smriti? Smriti has been the
fastest half century
poster
for
girl
an
of this team for
Indian
the last few
batsman
years.
in T20 internationals tonight.
Absolutely. What a knock. She just broke her own record by scoring the fastest 50 for India by a women cricketer. And today she was on sublime form. She's as good as any top batter in the world, including men cricket and also women's cricket. Just love watching her
Definitely.
bat, especially the glorious offside play, what she's got, the range, what she's got. I think there's no other better
And there
women batter
is the
in especially
fearless
opening
Shefali
position.
Verma accompanying her. I mean, Shefali Verma and Smriti Mandana are arguably, well, one might say the Australian opening pair are more threatening with Elisa Haley and
Yeah,
whoever Beth Mooney or whoever comes into bat
yeah,
opening. But I feel that Smriti Mandana and Shefali Verma are one of the more aggressive X Factor opening duos that we get to see on the cricket field, because they complement each other really well. We all know that Shefali Verma is a very aggressive cricketer, but tonight when Smriti Mandana was going really well, she was rotating the strike. She was not going for the big shots when Mandana was on song.
yeah,
So that was really good to see that they were complementing each other really well. And then there is the firepower of Harmanpreet Kaur, Dipti Sharma, the stability, the calmness of Jemina Rodriguez. I mean,
yeah.
it looks a
And
very
then
strong Indian
I
team.
love watching Jemima play as well. Jemima has
Yeah.
been one of the players who has been absolutely delightful to watch, and
And I was
I was
very
gutted when
upset
she
by
not
the
made the
fact
World
that
Cup squad.
Jemima was not picked up for the World Cup, for the
Yeah,
T20 World Cup. I was really
I was
upset by the
truly
fact.
gutted when she was not making it to the T20 World Cup and even for that 50 over World Cup, which happened in New Zealand. And she's a player of her stature, the player of her quality. I believe should be starting Indian team any day. And that's one of the reasons why India lost as well. We needed someone like a Jemima on the field and also as a batter as well. Yeah, Tammy, thank you for that because we would like to cover women's game even more. And one player I like to point out from the opposition camp is Talia McGrath. Talia
Yeah.
McGrath, since the time she's made her debut, she's been that player somewhat like Elise Perry's stature that she's been coming off pretty
Yeah.
well. Talia
And
McGrath,
especially because Perry was not in the right best of forms in the last 1 year or so. So Talia McGrath coming in for Australia and doing that job for them was fabulous. I mean, I'm really impressed. I'm almost scared. I mean, because obviously I'm supporting Team India, but
I mean, you
I'm
saw it
really
in the
scared
first
about
game,
the
right? Ashley
performance.
Gardner. Ashley Gardner just came out of nowhere, played that important knock for
Blistering
Australia.
half
That's the
century, yeah.
quality and depth the Australian team has got. They've been so consistent across all formats, and you got to give it to them, man. It's not easy to be so consistent in any sport for the longest period of time. I've not seen a team dominate world cricket, any sporting team in the world. I've not seen any sporting team dominate their sport over a longer period of time than Australia has done. Australian women's team has done, and
Women's
that's
team,
got to give credit to
especially,
their
yeah.
players, the depth, the investment they put in
And
the
definitely the
sport.
captaincy of Meg Lanning. I mean, there
Yeah.
have been a lot of situations when you think that, yeah, Australia are going to lose, they are not so threatening, but every time one player or the other steps up for them. There was Ashley Gardner in the game against India. McGrath has done it for Australia lots of times. There is Beth Mooney, Meg Lanning, Elisa Haley. I mean, it's a very formidable batting attack as well as a bowling attack. I mean, Australia have been conceding over 140, 145 in the last few games, which will be a bit of a concern for Australia, because they wouldn't, if they are chasing, they wouldn't they wouldn't like to chase more than 140, 145 in a final, because there will be lots of pressure on them. So I think the bowling department hasn't really stepped up. I mean, the especially the spinners. I mean, Gardner and Sophia. I think Sophia Monaliu.
Yeah,
I mean, they are world class bowlers, but they haven't been in the best of forms with the ball. So
yeah,
I think they definitely have to step up tomorrow if Australia. But whom are we kidding? Australia are the favorites.
yeah,
Australia
yeah.
are the
I would
favorites,
say are
but
the
India
favorites. There's no
are.
doubt about it. And it'll be
But India
so good
are
if
really
India can
making a
pull this
strong
off,
case for them.
because India have been coming to the finals and losing it. So finally, if India can pull out a final, I know it's the Commonwealth Games. It's just one of those gold medals,
And
nothing like
a
the
major
World Cup.
concern for Team India has been their bowling. I mean, yeah, the spinners did a very good job for them tonight. Renuka Thakur has been splendid for them throughout the series. But there are players like Pooja Vastrakar. Okay, she was economical tonight, but she hasn't had the best of times. And Meghna, the
Yeah,
two seamers, the two pacers from Team India haven't had the best of times. So I think both the teams are heavily like star-studded with the bat. With the ball, Australia are the favorites. But yeah, on a given day with Sneha Rana and Dipti Sharma and Radha Yadav doing the job for Team India with the ball,
yeah,
I
Radha
mean,
Yadav has been
it
really
can
good
be
as well.
anyone's
But
game.
for India, one of the major threat is going to be Megan Sturts. Megan Sturts has been that
Yeah.
baller who has been good form, and she has always troubled India for the longest period of time as well. So to get past her opening spell is going to be so important for Shefali Verma and Smriti Mandana. If they can get off their opening power play spell or by Megan Sturts, then things can possibly work in India's favor going ahead. And if Australian women are going to bat first, they expect them to come out aggressive, and that's why India will have to be very wary of the kind of bowling. They shouldn't drop catches. And if I have to go back to that final of 2020, where India played Australia in the final, India dropped so many catches up front, which cost India the game big time. Chasing a score 180 in Melbourne in that final was just a daunting task for India. That's why India fell short by quite a huge margin as well. So it's going to be so important for India to do some basic things right, which is to
And I mean,
stay
we would
proactive on the
need
field.
somebody like a Harmanpreet Kaur to step up. It's been quite some time now since Harmanpreet Kaur has given a Harmanpreet sort of a performance for Team India.
And
She has done it in the BBL,
what better for them than to play
Women's
against
BBL.
Australia? She's done it before in a World
Yeah,
Cup
yeah.
semi-final in
That
2017.
174 or 175 knock against Australia in that
That was one
semi-final
of the
was
greatest knock I've seen by an Indian by an Indian cricketer, whether men or women
definitely,
in a World Cup
definitely,
knockout. Has to be up there with Kapil Dev's 175 against Zimbabwe, or even better than that.
definitely.
So that's a peak moment of Indian women's cricket. That knock has actually put Indian team on the radar. It has actually inspired many girls to pick up the sport as well. So if you look at someone like a Shefali Verma, and she has always credited someone like a Harmanpreet Kaur's knock, what has really helped her to pick up the sport. And she's now 18, 19 years old. Back then she was probably
Yeah,
14, 13. So how inspiring was a knock, right? And that's why you believe in someone like a Harmanpreet Kaur's ability to do that, because she's that one batter who can clear the ropes in any ground in the world. She's as strong as a batter from men's cricket as well.
yeah.
Having said that, Sandeep, it
I
was
mean,
great talking about it. It was great covering both
to
Indian
sum
men's
it
team
up
and women's
in
team.
a sort of a different sort of a manner, Australia are the team with the experience. They have players ranging, majorly ranging in the age between 22, 23 to 30 and early 30s. But Team India are the younger team. Harmanpreet's team with players like Yastika Bhatia, Sharm, Tanya Sharma, the wicketkeeper.
And yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, these players, they are only what 18, 19. Shefali Verma has made a name for herself in world cricket. She was world number one at one point in the T20i batters list of ICC
absolutely.
rankings. I mean, that's a massive achievement. So there are a lot of youngsters, Dipti Sharma, who have been now playing for Team
Yeah,
India
rather
for
yeah,
quite
the
a long
yeah,
time now.
Renuka Singh has been another you know, huge bonus for India,
Yeah, she
especially
has
in
been the
this
star. She
particular
has picked up
tournament.
two
And
four
Deepti
wicket
Sharma has
hauls.
been one of my favorite as well. She's been such a good all-round cricketer. If you look in the
Yeah,
last 3 years since that 2017 World Cup, she's come of age as an all-round cricketer, and she's been
very
top-notch.
dependable, very
Jemima
dependable.
Rodriguez tonight was just once again top-notch
But
with
I
that
think
knock.
there's a concern with Jemima Rodriguez with her hand. I mean, she did not take
Yeah.
the field in the second innings because she had a niggle on her left or right arm. I
She
don't
just
remember
looked good
exactly.
in the post selfie session and everything. I hope she's just fine when she takes the field on
What
that
do you think?
fine
It was a
Commonwealth
ploy
Games
to
final.
get her Deval on the pitch to take one of those blinders that she
Yeah,
took
you
against
need
India.
her. Absolutely, you need her, and you really hope India gets that podium, center podium finish where the national anthem is going to be played for the first time. Celebrating women's cricket. So it's going to be a huge moment for
Definitely.
India. Let's not take it for granted. I know people might be thinking it's Commonwealth Games, and why are we even
Oh,
talking
it's the
about
first
women's cricket in
Commonwealth
Commonwealth
Games. I
Games?
mean, even though
First
it's the
Commonwealth Games, it's a
Commonwealth
medal
Games,
is a medal, and I bet this is going to definitely change India as well. As we speak about some hallmark moments in Indian sporting history, if India can get a gold over here, it's going to definitely inspire girls. It's going to put India. It's going to give India a lot of confidence going into the T20 World Cup as well. So I think it's going to be such an important tournament, such an important finish, and defeating Australia in
and
a major
the
final is
first
always a
major
major
tournament
final.
without Mithali Raj. So it's a huge achievement that they have made it this far. I mean, she Mithali Raj rightly formed this Indian team. She built all these characters, and it's good to see that she has handed the realm to the right person at the right time. Harmanpreet
Absolutely.
Kaur has been
Yeah, baton
taking
has
this
been
India
handled over
team.
pretty well,
Yeah,
and now
yeah,
the baton has been carried forward as well. Well, India playing their third major final in the last 3 years, last 5 years actually, and that speaks volumes of this team and the team that has been formed by Mithili Raj and Ko and everybody. We had Biju George sir on one of our podcasts talking about how important this women's cricket team has been, how women's IPL could possibly change a lot of things in women's system and in cricket in India as well. So having said that, thank you Sandeepani for joining. It was great talking to you. Guys, do play all these games with Boomer 11 because you have got so many series awaiting you. Tomorrow you have an India West Indies game. Then, of course, you have the English Premier League where Manchester City are in action. Then you also have Tottenham and a lot more other teams in action as well. So do not forget on that. Play absolutely all the fantasy contests with Boomer 11 for zero money, zero financial risk which is involved. And you got a lot of rewards to earn. So there's so many prizes awaiting you through the course of the sporting season. Asia Cup as well in a month's time. So that's going to be in UAE. If you are in UAE, go there and watch the game and support your favorite team as well. Thank you guys for joining. It was a pleasure taking your questions once again. There were some great questions, great points put
yeah,
out there. Great talking about women's cricket as well. Good night and have a good weekend, all of you.
yeah. Thanks for having